What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, who's jacking off to this, and we're back with episode 89 of the video game therapy series. Uh, First thing I want to talk about today is me. That's right, I want to talk about me. Because there's some, and this is kind of an interesting thing, I don't know, for me to deliberate on, because there's some amount of self-importance one must feel in order to create and publish anything of any kind. And I think comparatively to most other people don't really produce. They produce things, but they certainly don't produce things for other people in the sense, or they don't produce anything that is public or I guess publish in more I don't know literal like out there sociological sense. They might like produce things that their manager or who something at work sees or someone that their wife sees or something like that. But very few people like write books, for everyone to read or make videos like this for everyone to see. So there's some amount of self-importance, and I guess you could point towards narcissistic tendencies that one must have in order to think that what they have to say is important. And I think that's why I emphasize so much that nobody should be watching these. And if you are, I'm not claiming for any of my insights to be, even calling them insights is kind of uh, kind of too much, but claiming that they'd be worth anyone's time at all. I don't produce these for anyone else's. I produce them for my sake, and really my sake only. And of course, I say that, but then, well, then why even post it here all in the first place? And again, I've talked about this kind of accountability measure that having this channel of any kind and forcing me to create stuff is kind of what it does, right? I have to uh, produce things, produce thoughts, produce media, and that is best done when there's some kind of public accountability, even if no one actually watches. But I certainly am not promoting this, and I hope, and I'm not offended that that people don't watch this at all, or even if they do watch it, like this sucks. Like I know it does. That's not the purpose. Is not for it to be of a high modicum of quality. And the other thing is about like writing a book. Um, I said at one point I probably would never write a book because you got to be kind of full of yourself to think that your ideas are worthwhile. And I think on some sense this is true, but ultimately and this is kind of a hard argument for me to make only because of my philosophical disposition. But someone has to write a book, and if you and perhaps even if you find your ideas interesting enough, um, you know, I don't know, it is hard because then on one level, like again, you think that what you have to say and what you think is important, and then by you writing a book and someone reading it, you're then taking away thoughts and things that they could have had, which very well could be more interesting or more thoughtful than you. And I think when you write the book or write, and a book is the same as like a movie, it could be any kind of placeholder, but you're kind of making the assumption that what you have to say is more interesting or more worthwhile of the other person's time than than anything else, than what they like their opportunity costs, right? They could have been watching or seeing something else, or they could have been making something of their own. And so maybe that does kind of mean that, at least for myself, I think that I guess interacting with my inner thoughts and my own things I view as more important than with some other people's stuff. Maybe it's just because I've seen the internet has allowed content of any kind and any budget to proliferate, including these. Obviously, the budget for this is nothing, pretty much. I guess nothing that's non-tangible. I guess my time is kind of in the budget and the equipment that I have, but this is common for first world people. But either way, it allows a lot more shitty content to be created. And in that sense, you're a lot more likely, at least in my suggestion, my thoughts are, you're a lot more likely to see content that is a waste of your time because it's not as curated. And I don't think there was ever a point where it's like, I don't know, maybe like mainstream culture was all like I mean maybe like Shakespeare's age. I wasn't around. I don't really know. I'm sure there was garbage everywhere, but especially now where it's so much of what is out there is blatantly garbage, or monetized, or not to say garbage is like a catch-all, but I then kind of have come to this conclusion that literally me sitting here playing Minecraft, talking to myself is a better. I'll say better in any kind of general sense, better for me than watching some brain dead other, somebody else talking about something. And sure, maybe you think that you're sophisticated because you only listen to the smartest socialist podcasts or whatever. I don't know what these people listen to all day, but I think there's at least, even if it isn't maybe better from like a academic sense. I'm not like I don't get to. I'm not just sitting here listening to Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking talking all day and trying to like understand quantum mechanics in my free time. There's certainly a lot more authenticity and honesty you get with personal inquiry and what this is. And even if it is devolve into just kind of random diatribes about stuff, I still view that as more valuable in some intangible sense than again someone else's opinions that they're putting. Not to say that other people don't all have dumb opinions. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that, sure there's plenty of opinions out there that I would agree with that are perhaps maybe worth my time on paper, but I certainly get a lot more out of just me being with myself and talking about whatever is coming into my brain. And I don't know. This isn't necessarily to say that. Uh, Again, I think my time spent with myself is more important than you with yours. Like I said, I would advocate you to not watch these videos and for you to spend time with your own self, literally in silence. I even think that's kind of a better exercise than most because I mean, I think for a long period of time it was I guess there was a lot of idle time, right? And we played cards, we like found things to keep ourselves busy. Some people just did drugs or, I don't know, maybe it was world was boring enough to where you wanted to do math or something like that. But now it's just boredom is literally a crime, I guess, to quote Bo Burnham. And I almost want to challenge people to implore them to be bored with themselves and to just take like, I don't know, a day you're off work or something and literally try to do nothing. Like try to lay there, try to sit down or try to just kind of stare at a wall and just kind of be alone with your thoughts and think. Don't talk to anyone, don't listen to anything. It's just kind of be empty and then kind of enjoy, I'll say liminal space because it's hard now, and I think I'm pretty good at it at this point, just because I actively try to do it a lot, and it's not masochistic because it feels like it should be wrong that that is seen as like something painful, right? That being in silence or being alone or thinking with yourself is somehow a painful exercise when that is generally the like a normal mode of being. I think that's maybe why there's so much mental hysteria is that there's that is seen as some painful or difficult exercise or something. Or maybe it just leads people down these weird, strange rabbit holes where they have to, figure everything out, which is certainly not all what I'm trying to do with this. I hope this is like purely exploratory and not prescriptive in nature. And what I mean by that is I think maybe this kind of ties into therapy a little bit. And I've kind of said before that I think therapy is emotional prostitution. I think and I'm not saying all of it is garbage, but I would say like 80% of it is just, it's like unnecessary delving into like problems that otherwise are just either out of your control or non-existent or it's like as if there is like everyone's life is imperfect in some sense. I think that, again, the part of a perfect life or a good life or existence involves death, hardship, struggle, some kind of neurotic behavior, pathologies, addiction sometimes. I mean, there's like a life without that is not like is not a good life. Not in the sense I hope that you have a heroin addicted brother or something like that. But I just mean there's a balance to all of it, and to think that you need I don't know hundreds of thousands of hours of therapy delving into the topics of why you are the way that you are and dealing with your problems and the people. So I mean, again, statistically, probably I would argue that most people, I would say 80% of people at least, and this is being very conservative, have variable enviable existences by any, I guess, historical world standard. And not to say that's no reason to complain because gratitude is hard, but it still isn't one to be. I mean, just live your life and quit thinking about it. And I realize I say that as somebody who has probably at this point over 70 hours of me talking and thinking about life, but it's not. I hope that this is merely a conclusion I've come to in my ruminations, and I realize I could have gotten there faster just by living my life immediately, but I think it's you know a life analyzed is also spending some time in self inquiry and self actualization is also important. I just think it's not the ends in itself. It's not the point of it. Isn't just to sit around all day and think about why you are the way you are to some extent, or not even you the way you are, because I think that's more interesting. But like why did other people do this to me, or like why does my life experience suck or is good, or whose fault is, it's like there's all this like finger pointing. Like, show me the person who's running around just kind of accepting blame for everybody. Like, everyone wants to point fingers and blame people. And some people, again, I just put myself in this category. I'm just going to take responsibility for everything, even if it isn't my fault, because, of course, bordering on the fact that I don't want to feel like a piece of shit, but I'd rather err on the side of just things being my fault and having to solve it myself than like figuring out whose fault it is. Even if it is, Billy Joel's fault, or not, that's actually a real person. I was thinking of a fake name. Billy Bob's fault that my life sucks or that I'm whatever. My life is fine. But what is he going to be the one? I'm so sorry. Here is reparations for why your life sucks. I'm sorry, it's my fault. Like, no, if anything, it's just going to be this, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. Like, just blaming each other. And then how do you validate whether it's like, who cares whose fault it is? Just exist. Live your life the way it is. Yeah, it's not perfect. No one's is. Quit looking at other people. I think that's the other thing with comparison that I think is the issue. And I've dealt with sort of this unknown malaise in the sense where there's not really, there's just kind of, it's not really an obvious reason. Simply because not super materialistic in the sense of what is bothering me. It's not like, it's not an obvious, like, oh, I broke my arm. Is that why I'm in a bad mood? It's like, no, a lot of times there's nothing apparent that is causing my malaise. But um, comparison is certainly, they say comparison is a thief of joy, and there's certainly misery that can come from comparison. But I, uh, I guess after analyzing myself a lot, there certainly isn't anyone I'm too envious of. I'd say the only one I am uh, died 2,000 years ago, and that would be my role model of Diogenes, because I think is enviable to have, whether or not he did give a fuck about anything, but he truly embodies that I don't give a fuck about nothing mentality, which is a rusty looking mentality. Some people have the cash money, whatever, but mine is I don't give a fuck about nothing. And it also gonna don't I that also allows me to give a fuck about something if I want to, because I said I don't give a fuck about nothing, and therefore that I can give a fuck about something if I want, because I don't give a fuck about me saying I don't give a fuck about nothing. I also don't give a fuck about that. So anyway, um, yeah, I don't know. Just there's a certain uh, I don't know. There's interesting ways of dealing with one's malaise, and I think that's a very normal part of life. I'm not in a panic. It's not. It'd be stupid for me to panic or to waste thousands of dollars on therapy or whatever. Besides it being, I guess, a waste of money on that in that sense, I also think it's not even a good or healthy way of dealing with with problems, because in some sense you're just meant to live with them. They're meant to, you need to be pulled down in some sense, and maybe it's just a deeper subconscious humbling of your conscious mind. I had one thought, this was a while ago, that I kind of unspoken malaise is just like the ghosts of all the people dead in the past screaming at the current. Because I don't know, there's just interesting thoughts about. I guess this was probably when I was reading Carl Jung too, because he got me thinking real supernatural, like, ghost and the like. Not really ghost in the sense where it's like, somebody wearing a bed sheet and there's a phantom and he makes you piss yourself or something. But I just mean like, some kind of, like, after you die, surely there's nothing left of you physically, right? But is there anything at all left of you at all? Any kind of material. I mean, surely there's like, again, physical things that you've left, but is there anything immaterial that's left of somebody that dies? And again, like the empiricist would say, well, no, but I don't know. It's interesting to think that maybe there might be, and I hope I'm not too skeptical, bordering on delusional on that, but I don't think it's. I don't know. I would err on the side of us knowing not enough in terms of if there is or not, then decide there is. Not to say that I'm gonna run around and be scared of ghosts, but it's interesting to think, perhaps of all the lives that have come and gone, um, are there anything beyond that that has any influence on modern day? So it could be just the spirits of the world screaming at all the people in the modern generation for whatever. Because like I say, gratitude is hard, and this is kind of really dumb thought I had, but it'd be on some level, I guess this is true. I kind of wish that I went through some, or I go through some like near death experience such that I am grateful for all that I have. Because it does feel a little, I don't know, conceited to not be running around like happy, clapping like a seal all day. Because I'm sure there are plenty of people that if you gave them the option to switch with me, they probably would, right? You can pick anybody in a shittier country, like, oh yeah, I'd take that in a heartbeat. So then it's like, okay, well now I'm kind of like, I can't waste it, which I also think is kind of a bullshit. It's like I didn't choose to be given this, and then like I guess I'm also kind of not choosing to be the one to waste it, but it's not. It's hard. Like gratitude is not something I can just wish out of a hat. Like it's not like I can just wake up and like be happy or be grateful for stuff. So I almost maybe want to wish that there was some kind of near death experience. Hopefully not a permanent physical one. Maybe something more like non-physical because I do enjoy being like having a working body. But something where I'm like, man, like be grateful for a while because it is. And I actually don't even. I'm definitely not the worst at this. I think there's I would point fingers at people that are a lot less grateful than me, just in the things that they choose to bother themselves with. What is their day to day concerns? Like their biggest problem is, which sundress to wear on their going to brunch. Or like whether or not their sister is like, it's like how how can this possibly be of the utmost importance to you? How is this what you using your primal anxiety towards these materialistic isn't even a strong enough word to convey how superfluous these concerns are. I think someone like that definitely needs a near-death experience to really rock the boat and be like, oh, maybe I should. Who gives a fuck what kind of sundress I'm wearing or what shoes I'm wearing? Like who fucking cares? Like it just is so pointless. And maybe I'm just very, I guess, anti-materialistic in that sense. And it's not. I do like and it sucks because I do like buying stuff. I think there's some element of kind of because like I'd say in terms of modern day religions, I would say consumption is probably our modern day religion. If there is like Christianity wasn't one day, today it's just like instead of the cross, it's the golden arches, and that's who we worship. That's or maybe it's something more of a luxury, but maybe it's Dior or Gucci or Supreme or something like that. That is who we hail down to. And it's hard. It's like being the only agnostic person in a room full of Christians. You do begin to kind of wear off in the same sense. I'm not saying that are my inclinations, but I mean, in the same sense, if everyone around you is very concerned with the shoes that they have in the car and the house, and it's like, then it rubs off. And it's like, I don't like that even a dumb purchase of something trivial, like, a hard drive or like a USB port or something. Like that, those were things that I bought like a USB splitter and I was like, why did I just enjoy buying that? Damn it. I was hoping that wasn't as satisfying as it is because it does rub off. But something I'm actively fighting only because I don't view it as part of a virtuous existence. So in some sense, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to beat myself up for it, but it certainly is not. I'm not I'm not going to praise myself for being happy I bought a USB drive. It's not something worthy of celebration, right? I think there are plenty of other things I can do and I should be doing that I think is more worthy of my celebration. Even something like this, putting something out in the world, putting aside an hour to, I don't know, talk about nothing, but at least there's some element of like confrontation. I have to at least try to antagonize myself or be skeptic of something I think or feel in these hours. And to me, that is more noble of that is more cause for celebration than me even making $30 or $100 or whatever. Like that. I'm not saying it's not hard to make money. It can be hard to make money depending on what you're doing, but like making money shouldn't be a celebratory action. That shouldn't be the goal. Should not be to make money. Make money as a byproduct of whatever you do is fine. I'm not against that, but like you should be making shoes and the craftsman of shoes not for the money. You should do it because there's the satisfaction of the craftsmanship, and not because of it nets you money. Otherwise, then it just becomes an exercise in how many shoes are like selling people what they don't want. And now that everyone has all this extra money, people just buy whatever the fuck they want. And it's more about trying to get some idiots to buy something they don't need, and then you make the money. It's like you need to position yourself to fuck people. It's like this is all lost. No wonder you guys are miserable. There needs to be some like do something that brings you satisfaction, and it can't be money. Go past the money. As money as the abstraction of satisfaction is not satisfying for me. And I guess I feel bad for people that find the deep satisfaction in making money, even if it's not. I got a friend of mine that was an investment banker, and like I don't know, we were talking. He had all these girl problems, so I talked to him about that. But one day we were talking about something, and he's like, I don't know, he had having kind of a quarter life crisis because he's only a little bit older than me. And I'm like, well, if you had $1 billion, what would you do all day? What would you want to read? You want to write something? Like, what do you want to do? You give $1 billion, so money's no object. And he's like, hmm, I would invest the money. And I'm like, no, that's not the point. You can't. He goes, no, but I love investing. And I was like, but what do you mean? You can't make, you're not allowed to make any more money. The point of the hypothetical is that there's no more money to be made. Fine, make it $10 billion. Doesn't matter. You have to just you can't just make more money. It's not the point. What I didn't really get, and I still don't really get, to be honest with you, but, uh, the sole act of making money, just having it and getting it, by whatever means, was satisfying to him. There was no other element of like, it wasn't even like the analysis of the stocks was interesting, or there was some math that was interesting to him. Like it wouldn't even like I said, so would you trade like fake stocks? Would you just like gamble all day? What if there was like an app where it was like fake money, but you still got to do that investment part? He's like, no, I want real money. Like that was a satisfying part with him, was just making more money. And I was like, but you don't even, for what? Like, what would you do with assuming you're not allowed to make any more, what would you do with it? And he didn't know. And I think he's an anomaly. I don't think that most people are like that, but it is hilarious that like, he was what, late 20s or something like that. And I was like, what would you do if if money was not a thing? He's like, I don't really know. And I'm like, yeah, it's too bad. So at least I would know. There's lots of things that I would do. I'd still be doing these, obviously, because I do these without money anyway. But I would probably get a better microphone, because these, like I'd say, out of the few comments I do get, I still get complaints about how shitty my mic is. But I don't think it's that bad. But anyway, let's see. I guess this is another thing related to rants on, I don't know, therapy and malaise and the like, is it's just peace with pain, really. It's not, I don't think, like, therapy might be analyzing or dissecting or addressing or confronting the pain, maybe if it's like sheltered or bear down, but you have to make peace with it. And especially because so much of our current lives is out of our control. It's not like we're born in these self-sufficient tribes or caves or something where we've figured, like, no, we're very much not self-sufficient ever. Like, out of the womb, we were birthed by some nerd. Like, there's all these other economics at play, and then there's some amount of like, you're kind of obligated to the people and things that have, gotten you to this point. And then it's like, if you don't do anything, you're a piece of shit. So there's a certain amount of obligation you have to doing things. And this results in, understandably, some amount of, discomfort or pain or malaise, depression, what have you, or I guess in some case, a lack of gratitude. But and a certain amount of it is out of your control. In that sense that you shouldn't, I guess, try to be more grateful, try to do certain things, but there is a certain kind of, well, fuck it, forget about it, to kind of, not to say that repressing it is the answer, but to, like, kind of, I just have it in a pocket, right? Just kind of carry it around with you and just be part of it being part of who you are, not necessarily something you have to, like, be able to explain. That's the other thing I think is part of the reason that this is problematic, is that there's this, maybe it's just a result of us being overly scientific, which I've been critical of, but we need to explain everything. Everything's got to have an explanation. We have to have an answer for all this. And even if the answer is just wrong, as long as the answer is comforting enough for us, we'll accept it. And I think a healthier response would be to, accept and appreciate the lack of an answer as an answer, right? Where it's like, why do I have this problem, or why do I feel this way? And in some sense, we just love to just dive in. And I'm guilty of this as anyone, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but or to myself, that is. Uh, there's no explanation. It doesn't make any sense. You're never gonna understand it. Your mind, my mind. I'm too stupid. There's no feasible, calculable way that I'm ever gonna understand this. I just need to make peace with the fact that I'm too dumb to get it. And I don't mean too dumb in a sense where I could be smarter if I really thought about it and studied it, I could get there. It's like, no, nope, no. You could spend thousands, centuries, whatever amount of years in time, and like your brain is just incapable of comprehending why these certain things happen. So quit trying to find abstractions for it. Quit analyzing it. Just let it be the way it is. And even if it is something that harms you or causes you pain or is discomforting, too bad. Live with it. It's all right. It's okay. And maybe it rears its ugly head every once in a while. It's like, fine. You're not allowed to be sad for 5 minutes. You can't be uncomfortable. You can't be cold. I never got that. I I'm gonna live in a temperate environment. I'm not like in Alaska or something where it's cold all the time. But I wear shorts pretty much year round. And it's like I don't know. To get like November or something, it's a little chilly. Uh, or maybe it's snowing one day. And I'm outside for a few minutes, like walking to my car, walking somewhere else, and it's like, man, you must be so cold. Like you're wearing shorts, and I'm like, it's just yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not. I would be. I can't be mildly uncomfortable for 7 seconds while I get into my. It's like what? No, yes, I guess on some sense that like I'm cold, but like I'm just because I'm hungry doesn't mean I have to eat. Just because I'm cold for 5 seconds, man, I can't just deal with being cold. Like isn't it okay to be uncomfortable for a little bit? And in the same sense, it's like you don't have to explain everything. You don't have to always be like you can be sad, and that's totally fine. You can be ungrateful. In my case, fine. That's okay. It's not like maybe it's problematic if I'm like freezing 24/7, but 7 seconds is nothing to be cold. And a few hours is nothing to be sad. It seems strange or it seems weird that we have to like it's a sin to be cold or uncomfortable or sad or anything but like doped out or content or just distracted. I think most of it is it's not even like we're happy most of the time. We're just distracted from stuff, right? We're kind of jumping from one thing to the next, and our inability to focus on anything it kind of works in our own favor, right? Because if we were able to focus on things that happen to us, then we would be miserable, perhaps, right? We'd fixate on some one thing. Maybe that's the thing with autistic people. I don't mean autistic people as like a blanket term because I put myself in that category, but autistic people as like people who are like medically kind of mega autistic is that because they're able to focus, they have like this Asperger's level of focus that they fixate so readily on these problems. And then a lot of them aren't like I'm not putting these aren't Down syndrome people. I'm talking about like people with like maybe high functioning autism. A lot of times they are kind of this existential depressive people because they are able to focus on things that for extended periods. And oftentimes it's not like I want to focus on how happy like the birds chirping made me. It's never that. It's like no, like why is this one Lego like a place out? And this is just so infuriating and like so let's fixate on it, for years or something. Whereas a normal person would be so distracted. Oh, what yogurt shop do you want to go to? Oh, where's lunch? It's like oh my god, I love those shoes. And as you jump from one, it's just this absolute ADHD conversation. But at some point you forgot why you were happy 5 seconds ago. Now you forgot why you're sad, and it's just kind of this one big mess of just one thing to the next. And there's never a point where you ever kind of analyze it, which isn't really a bad way to live anyway, right? It kind of, I guess, it kind of helps us, at least us normal. I almost said neurotypical, but I think that is so stupid. Like the neurotypical neurodivergence idea, as if like everybody's brain is the same except for these people that are neurodivergent. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? What a stupid idea. Everyone has the same brain except, or the pathways are different, or they have different tendencies on different things. It's like fucking everybody does. You're talking about, at that point, it's just a measure of conformity. Like how much of my quote unquote neurodivergence do I need to put away in order to like attend this Zoom meeting and just sit there with a stupid fucking look on my face. Like it's not neurodivergence because I'm incapable of like having the self control just to sit there, or that I'm more worried about this incorrect color schema than the client needs or the stakeholder. Like no, like it's not. I don't know. I hate the idea of neurotypicality and neurodivergence as like not even medical topics because they're not okay. They're psychological maybe or sociological, maybe psychological. I just put them in the I would put them in words I should never use. It is neurotypical, neurodivergent. Everyone's brain is different. What a joke. And I really think it's just a measure of conformity more than it is like any kind of actual, well, they so their brains are firing differently. Everyone's brain fires differently. Everyone has their own set of memory. It's like, what are you talking about? Everyone has their own unique input. How would their brains not be different automatically? Everyone's brain is different. And it's like, oh, well, classes have differences. Where's the line with that? It's like, it's not even a spectrum. It's not even a three-dimensional grid. It's like a 40-dimensional array that no one has a fucking clue what's going on. You're never going to calculate the amount of divergence in somebody's neurology. Are you looking at a brain scan by one of our dumb, stupid Turing machines? Give me a fucking break. I don't know, it pisses me off that there's like, I don't know, pop science meets like some fucking D grade medical school idiot who's, his dad got, I don't know, I could go on a whole tirade about that, but I certainly don't believe, quote unquote, in neurodivergence and neurotypicality. But maybe I'm just too neurodivergent to learn that. How about that? I'm too neurotypical to understand true neurodivergence. It's like, I don't think so. I don't know. It's such a stupid idea that like people can have the same brain. It's like, no, I don't know. I guess in some sense I have the same. I can understand the same math problem as other people. Does that mean that like my brain is neurotypical? It's like, no, there's overlap obviously, but there's snowflakes have overlapping characteristics, but no two are the same. It's like, again, at what point are you going to say one snowflake is different enough than the other? It's like they're all sure they have characteristics that might be similar, but like so does all of them. They're all snowflakes. You can just categorize them that way. They're all brains, right? You don't get to choose which ones have more differences like in their. It's like who's measuring that and how do you measure that? What a horrible like what a stupid I don't know, what a stupid idea. What a waste of time, really, to bicker about whose brain is more different when we don't know jack shit about the brain. And maybe I guess if you're just this computationalist who thinks everything is just one big computer, then maybe brains or you are just big LLMs that we've trained for years. But I am certainly not somebody that believes in a reductionist view on the brain. I think there's a lot more complication in the brain than we give it, and it is outside of our conception at least currently with our current models of quantum mechanics and neuroscience. But anyway, yeah, let's see. Yeah, I guess speaking of, I guess this is kind of a contrary point to what I just said about distraction being good, but isn't it? I don't know. It seems a little just exhausting for some people to be. I mean, because like I said, being distracted, you're kind of jumping from one thing to the next. But um, I guess categorizing the class of people who are neurotypical and able to be kind of whipped around by their emotions all day, or not even emotions, just impulses, right? It's like, well, I'm cold, I'm gonna put on pants. Oh, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go eat something. Like, oh, it's hot, I'm gonna say, oh, you're boring. It's like there's always like this like immediate, what is like the first thing that pops into my head? I am going to just do whatever is going to appease, like whatever's going to scratch that immediate itch. And a lot of times it ends up being just something I don't know, biologically stimulating or obnoxious, right? So like you're hungry, you eat. You're cold, you do it. You're tired, you go to sleep. There's never like a deeper thought than like where are we going to eat today or what am I going to wear or the deepest thought might even be about something you know believe this the deepest thought might be something about money or am I going to save my money or am I going to spend my money? It's like that is the deepest thought. You can't even go below the abstraction of money. You have to money is the deepest abstraction that you can that your little neurotypical brain can reach. I'm gonna start using it as like a slur. I don't know. I don't know. It's silly, but isn't it just exhausting to be whipped around all day by your emotions? Not that you should question whether or not you're hungry because, but sometimes you're just not. I'd say that the one thing I learned about hunger in my many, because I've swung around like on purpose. Not that I've never been fat at all, but I haven't really been anorexic either. But I've whipped around my weight a lot, and I'm able to adjust my weight kind of at ease. Like if you challenged me for whatever reason, and I believed you to gain 20 pounds, I could. I could do the same for losing 20 pounds. It wouldn't. I just choose not to because I'm at the weight that I want. But even like being hungry is like, yeah, the impulse immediately is to eat, but a lot of times you're like you're thirsty. Like that's like I don't know, 50% of the time, I'm like, man, I'm hungry. I just take like 2 sips of water. I'm like, oh wait, I was just thirsty. I was not hungry at all. And it's like, aren't you? We're so easily fooled by our, like animal instincts. The same with like, I don't know, being horny. It's just it's crazy. So many of like man's atrocities are just like a guy being horny for 10 seconds, and then like he'll throw away anything, an entire career, a family, all the money that he supposedly cares so much about. He'll throw it away in 5 seconds just because he's horny. It's like it's just so crazy to see how much of slaves we are to our impulses in some sense. And I would put even ambition in some sense in that category of impulses, because I don't think that it might be noble or might seem noble to have deeper or grander ambitions than just eating and wearing clothes and making money or something like that, but something like that. But even there's impulses on like a social status that I think are just as shallow, right? I need to like be smarter, feel better than you, or have nice. It's like I don't know. There's just maybe it's just like one step above just like not being hungry or not being cold. And it just feels exhausting to me that like we just live your life being whipped around by whatever impulses are bothering you at that exact moment. You're not ever able to just like maybe just kind of ignore that. Obviously, you don't ignore it to the point of like never eating again because you've ignored hunger, but especially for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or even just like a day or something. Like, are you capable of just ignoring that impulse? Right? Every single time you're horny, can you just I don't know, not jerk off? Like, do you have to? Is it how? Why is it so powerful of an influence? Like, I mean, maybe it's easy in this case just to reduce it to, your nice little biological view of some synapses firing. So then they're just synapses firing. Just ignore them. You have other ones you can counteract. It's like, well, no, my impulses are so powerful. I can't not eat. I don't know. It's just I view it as problematic if you don't even have I guess, on some very low level of like control in order to curb influences. Because everybody has feeling hunger and feeling cold. It's not like I don't ever get cold or I don't get hungry or I don't get horny. I just I'm able to exercise some amount of self control over that, and I find it difficult to believe that I have some superhuman ability to do this. It's like, no, I don't think it requires anything that everybody doesn't have. Like I'm not special in this regard. I think I have intention to maybe to not do that, but there's not any level of genetic superiority that allows me to curb hunger for 5 seconds. I'm fine with being hungry or being cold. It's not the end of the world. It's fine. It's like, and I know, like, I don't know. I guess evolutionarily, there's a lot of hang-ups with that because that used to be life and death, but it's not anymore. Can't we know? Don't we know that it's not life and death? And you being horny is not like the end of your genetic bloodline and all humans go extinct if you don't have sex right now. It's like, no, just don't you know that it's we're in the period of surplus. We're living in the poverty of abundance, right? Where everything is so plentiful, are we have nothing. It's just ironic. And I don't know. It's just the deeper I go into any of these topics, the more I just I don't know. I just come out of it as absurdity, right? As just things being funny, right? It's just the universe is ironic in that sense. We're able to produce so much, we have an abundance, especially at least in the first world. At least I don't. I guess I could always bring in the equity factor where Africa is still struggling or whatever. But in the first world, we're I don't know, we're so lost in spirit, but so full of everything else. And like I said, a religion is just consumption. It's ironic, just because it's I don't know. The places we come from, I suppose, evolutionarily, like the old ancient humans would have done anything to be where we are, and then here I am as somebody in this scenario, looking back so fondly upon simpler times. And it's the grass is greener scenario. But I'm not saying I wish I was the age I'm in now is perfectly fine. I don't wish for or against it in that sense. I wouldn't like I would let the universe choose what it wanted for me, and it wanted this time. That's all. That's fine. If there was a time, if I existed in a period of time where there was no speech or anything, then that's would have been fine too. It's not really my choice to make. It's not really something had control over anyway. So I'm not going to bother like choosing a time period I would have lived in. But regardless, it's just funny that it is now this ironic switcheroo on what our lives and things look like, and it's just funny. I don't know. It's just funny how ironic it is. I guess it's worth analysis or worth deeper thought, but on some level, it's absurd how ridiculous it is. So anyway, I'll move on to something else. Um, yeah, let's see. Yeah, here's I guess something else related to abilities. I don't know. Because I was talking about writing books earlier and why I guess content production of any kind, or writing books, or making movies, or like making anything with the intention of other people watching it, it has some level of like self-importance there, and I think there's truth in that. But if you think about, I don't know, maybe like natural talents and abilities, or general intelligence in some vague sense, not even though I hate that whole conception and that word really, that set of words. Um, there's certainly some dispersion of, like, men are not created inherently equal everywhere. There's some inequalities, and I'm sure on some like basic biology, like even not everybody's born with two arms, right? So like if everything was equal, if man were all born equal, everybody would always have two arms, which isn't always true. People are born with birth defects and whatnot. So in the same sense, no one's born with the same brain or the same amount of computational processing or the same innate quote unquote intelligence or whatever. Either way, inequality exists within man. I feel like it shouldn't be heretical for me to say that. There are inequalities with people. That should be quite obvious. So while I'll say general talent in some sense is dispersed, again, according to some bell curve probably, and likewise, I suppose self-confidence or self-belief is also dispersed on that bell curve. Surely there are people who are at the top of some ability with at the bottom of the bell curve of self-confidence. So I mean, again, ignoring all other factors of economics and what have you. I'm ignoring all of those, um, just for the sake of thinking about kind of talent slash abilities, and then self-confidence on certain things. So there's like maybe four classes we can kind of categorize these in. So it'll be a matrix of sorts. But you have like your high confidence, high ability, high confidence, low ability, low confidence, high ability, low confidence, low ability. And there's obviously the third kind of omnipotent thing is the self-awareness of this. How aware is somebody of their abilities and their confidence? Who knows? Some people want to think, oh, I'm the most talented, least confident. It's like, no, you missed completely. You're not whoever you think you are. You're not. So but there is this dispersion. It does certainly exist in some sense if you can accept that there are inequalities among man, and among those inequalities are self-confidence and also abilities and self-awareness too, as a kind of a related concept. But I suppose the people that should be writing books and should be producing things or should be doing whatever, if we are interested in bringing up, I guess, whatever. Yeah, this kind of gets into the point of why even make things in the first place. Is it just entertainment? Is it a distraction to fill the time? Why does anyone make anything that other people should look at? Why do people write books? It's like, I don't really know. Either way, the subset of people that you want sharing their opinions and ideas are ones that have high abilities, but they also are probably not the ones with low confidence, right? They're the ones that need to have high self-confidence and high abilities. And the difficulty is that, yeah, I mean, I guess now everybody that's high in self-confidence is able to produce something. But of course, it also ranges in a bell curve of things. And I guess high talented people are maybe perhaps less likely to be on that high self-confidence, only because they know how they're aware of their shortcomings, and they maybe have that self-awareness piece too. So then I don't know, maybe it's skewed towards people that producing things are, again, the dumbasses behind self-confidence. The narcissistic types who think that they're smart or whatever, or ends up being the one that are producing things. So I guess it's worth people that are hesitant to create things that undeniably have some amount of ability in whatever field or talent or whatever sector that might be, to create something, whether it be a book or what have you. But again, knowing who that is, or relying on society or popularity to tell those people to make something, is a dumb thing to do. It's just kind of like praying that the right people come. It's like, no, I think on some sense, people should be at least have some kind of connection to be making something. And I guess I don't really know how those people get their ideas and things validated, because it's often like the highest, I don't know, probably the best YouTube videos I've ever seen are the ones that have like no views on them. That being said, I'm kind of done watching YouTube. I guess besides like Yankees highlights, but that, you know, I don't really count that. All right, but let's do an RSS feed anyway. But still, I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to find a way to justify what I do as not being self-absorbed. Uh, which again, I guess me just saying that this is for me, not for anyone else to watch, is enough that I can do without invalidating my own point. So I don't know. I honestly, like I said, I think everybody should have a blog or have some kind of creative outlet of some sort. Now, again, the bell curve would say most of it is shit. In fact, a lot of it would be shit, and the popular stuff would be shit. Like even like, and the not popular stuff would also be shit. But I think using like popularity to justify whether or not something's shit is obviously a terrible metric. Regardless, I think everybody should have some kind of outlet like this, and so it would, I don't know, in my utopia, everyone has their own buckets banner of sorts, or blog, or website of some kind where they are truly authentic and honest themselves. Because the other issue is that people that are seeking popularity with their outlets are the least authentic. And I think if there's nothing else I can say about these dumbass videos, I'm at least trying to be as authentic as possible. I'm not doing a character. I'm not. I'm thinking about, like, I'm being as honest as I can, thinking about things and questioning things, and not being overly curative in what I'm producing. Obviously, I'm not following a script. I have like literally, I have this big list of haikus where it's just a few words to try to get me onto a talking point, and then it's just rambling from there. It's not anything, and most of the time it is incoherent. I'm not saying that there's anything anything good. It should be obvious that this is not curated, but it's at least some kind of nod to an attempt at being authentic, and being honest. It's not like I'm spouting corporate platitudes and talking about how nice everyone needs to be nice to each other. Like, I'm very aware that there are carnal instincts between humans, myself included, that result in atrocious behavior. And I'm part of that. I have, I will, will still, it's like I've done horrible things, and I will, no, I'll probably still say and do terrible things. And that is just kind of a reality of being an animal with a brain. Again, there's the rational thoughts don't always win. And even, what are the rational? Sometimes rational thought is like, oh, well, I need to rape this woman because I need to survive. Like, there's like that, technically, to the animal part is rational. It's like, so then what is the true rational thought? Like, then we have to weigh ethics. And again, sometimes there's no time to do any of that for the humans who are so guided by their carnal instincts. But at the very least, I can at least try to be as little beholden to my carnal instincts of food, sleep, sex, and whatever, to have, again, maybe one layer of protection or abstraction from doing the horrible things, in the hopes that that makes me, I guess, less of a piece of shit. But again, who's really to say that? Even, I don't know. Who is a piece of shit, really? I mean, is the person who's honest about being kind of a dick more of a piece of shit or less of a piece of shit than the one who's, a phony, right? Because it just never surprises me that these people are like, oh, he's such a gem, he's a gift to the world, or she's the greatest, whatever. And then it's like, oh my God, he raped a kid. It's like, who who the fuck is surprised by, like, who's surprised by this ever? Like, who's ever surprised by some guy being a pedophile, or somebody grooming somebody, or some crazy bitch who cut some guy's dick off? Like, why are people still surprised by that? Why? But a celebrity did something. It's like, these people are just as fucked up and as atrocious as you. It's like, as a wine addicted, socialist podcast listener who's kind of hooked on oxy and alcohol, but not really. It's like, some celebrity that I've been vilifying, and or some that I've been praising for my entire life turns out to be a huge fraud. It's like, no one's really that much of a fraud. Everyone's kind of a piece of shit on some level, right? Everyone's kind of good on some level, and also kind of a piece of shit on some level. Sure, some people like have, the angel wins out, or like society sees them in a good light, or maybe they've always had the good light on their face most of the time. And some people, regrettably, do some bad things and kind of keep falling into that behavior. And there's certainly patterns of that. But to think that there's like anybody who's like wholly bad and wholly good is beyond stupid. Like that level of binary thinking is again is almost unforgivable by people who are capable of comprehending algebra. And again, I'm a huge sinner of binary thinking in some sense. There's like things I do quote unquote on principle that are very much binary thoughts. But to think that like human morality of like good and evil and people being wholly good or good is binary is fucking stupid. So for the love of God, do not be surprised if you're The Rock or I don't know John Cena diddled some 15-year-old. It's like who's surprised by that ever? It's like I hope not. For all accounts I've seen, it seems like both The Rock and John Cena are fine people. There's been no dirt on them yet, but like how surprised should you really be, if they come out and there's some, they, were sexting somebody or something. It's like, or he cheated on his wife. It's like, how is that really that surprising? Like, you think they're a different class of human because, they have a camera on them sometimes, or that they do steroids and they're on TV? It's like, no, they're just as big a piece of shit as you. It's like, no. Or they're just as not, if you're just this lovely person that everybody loves, they're just as lovely as you, maybe on some level. I don't know. It just never surprised me that these people are weird. But anyway, I'll probably, hopefully, have a time there again. I don't have a timer on these anymore, so I really have to eyeball the time. Hopefully, I'm not too far below, I think. But anyway, I'll cut it off there. Thanks for watching. Get back in the cadence of these. So, I don't know. Peace out.